Greetings, Michael Didier here. We're continuing our journey through Torah. Today we're starting Deuteronomy. Woohoo, last book. We've been doing this for a long time, about 2.5 years now. 2 years certainly. And this is our second time through, so 5 years. You learn a lot in that amount of time. All right, last week we talked about the cities of refuge. It was the last chapter of Numbers, even though there's 36 chapters in Numbers. We covered chapter 36 when we covered chapter 27, the daughters of Zelophehad. So for us, Numbers 35 and the 6 cities of refuge was the last thing that we talked about in Numbers. Do you remember what we talked about? It actually began by talking about Israel's seed. Remember, the Ezra men are Israel's seed, multiple generations of spiritually born men. Israel's seed. They have the Ger who dwell with them, but the Ger don't own any land. The Ger dwell with us. I say us because I'm an Ezra man. We were instructed to give from our land that Jehovah gave us 48 cities. 6 of them were going to be for a city of refuge, for the manslayer, the Rashak, the one who kills a man, whether it's accident or on purpose, can flee to that city and be judged there. If he's guilty, he's going to be turned back over to the manslayer. If he's not guilty, he's going to dwell in that city for the rest of his life, or at least until the rest of the high priest's life. When the high priest dies, he gets set free. Let me just cover a couple verses that I wanted to point out to you. Here's Numbers 35:6. Now among the cities which you will give to the Levites, you shall appoint 6 cities of refuge to which the manslayer may flee. And to these you shall add 42 cities, total 48 cities. That's really what we just talked about. Let's continue. He says, then you shall appoint cities to be the cities of refuge. Here's the cities. Let me ask you, do you remember what cities were the 6 cities of refuge? Bible trivia. But you know what? If you live in Israel, you better know where the cities of refuge are at. And the one that's closest to you. Do you remember what they are? From top north to south, on the east side, they were Kadesh in Galilee. Remember, we talked about Kadesh Berea way down south and Kadesh in Galilee. 2 different Kadeshes. The next one down was at Shechem, and the last one was at Hebron in the south. On the west side, east side of the river, you know, I had that backwards all last week. On the east side of the Jordan River, in the north, we had Golan. Then we had Ramoth Gilead in Gilead. And then Besser is what we had in, I forget if that was Gad or Reuben's territory down there, but it was kind of adjacent to the Dead Sea. Remember we were talking about 6 cities shall be a refuge for 3 different kinds of men. Israel's seed, for the Ger, remember it's the Ger who dwells with Israel's seed, and in this case, which is kind of unusual, it said, and for a sojourner among them. This is the man who's working with us. He knows us. He's got some kind of a relationship with us. Even this city will help protect that man from the avenger of blood. Remember, we said the avenger of blood was a near of kin. We also said, and I think I've got it here. Let me see if I marked it. I think I did. Well, here we're talking about the avenger of blood himself. Remember the blood, Hadam, the blood avenger. You got to avenge the blood for what's been spilled. This is the avenger of blood who's going to take care of his near of kin who's been killed. Avenge his death. But there is another man that is got a significant stake in making sure that this blood is being taken care of. That's this man here. Look at what it says. This happens to be Numbers 35:6. The manslayer will be judged in the city of refuge to determine if it was an accident. If it was not, he will be put to death, lest innocent blood be shed in the midst of thy land. We don't want, Israel's seed doesn't want unanswered blood spilled in the midst of their land, which Jehovah, thy Elohim, is giving thee for an inheritance. And it says, and bloodshed, and all the blood be upon thee. Who's the thee that we're talking about? This is not the avenger of blood. This is the man who owns the land. There's actually two people who have a significant stake in making sure that this Rishak, this murderer, whether it be an accident or on purpose, premeditated, is brought to justice. Remember, justice for an accident is for that man to live in the city the rest of his life. We talked about, does his family move there? I would assume they would. He's not coming back out to them. All right. Well, we'll stop here. We're going to move on to Deuteronomy. Here we are. You know, I have to say, I love Deuteronomy. I've liked Deuteronomy for years, but the last time I went through it, I thought, man, there's a lot of things that don't work in Deuteronomy. Remember, we learn Jehovah's word line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. We're going to see that there is much in Deuteronomy, especially in the early teens, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16th chapter of Deuteronomy that has many problems, many things that do not agree with Torah. It makes me question whether it is Torah. Is Torah 4 books or 5 books? You know, I've often heard people talk about Torah as Bereshit and Vayadabar being covers of the book. But as I look at that idea, I think, does this really work? Let me just show you something. Here is the first 4 books of Torah. It starts out with Bereshit. In the beginning is what Bereshit means. Then it says Va'ala, and it says and these, and these. Then it has Vayikra, and he called. The point I'm making here is we're seeing this Vav at the beginning of each of these books. And for all 3 books, Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers. Vayadabar, and he spoke. This was Numbers. But when we get to Deuteronomy, it starts with Allah. Same word that we had in Exodus and these, but now it just says these. It doesn't say and these. Well, that may be a weak argument. The stronger argument is the disagreement that we see with Deuteronomy concerning the rest of Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers in particular. We're going to talk about that a lot as we go through Deuteronomy. It says, these are the words. You know what? In all fairness, it has no vav. But it does say, ala hadavarim. These are the words. What words are we talking about? I think we're talking about Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, even Genesis. These are the words which Jehovah spoke to all Israel. Remember, Israel is those men, those Ezra men who left the kingdom of their birth, became Ger, and then at Passover became native born. Ezra men, they're called. These are the words which Jehovah spoke to all Israel on this side of the Jordan, in the wilderness. Well, now he's going to tell us which wilderness are we talking about. Right now, he's speaking to us. We're on the plain of Moab, across the river from Jericho. But when he says on this side of the Jordan, in the wilderness, he's talking about everywhere that we've been for the last 40 years. These are the words. Maybe, instead of saying Vav and these are the words, he's just saying these are the words. Everything I just said, these are the words. So maybe they are connected in that respect. Here, let me just read this. This is Numbers 10. Now it came to pass in the 12th day of the 2nd month, in the 2nd year, that the cloud was taken up above the tabernacle of the testimony, the Mishkan, the tent of the Mishkan. And Israel's seed set out in the wilderness of Sinai on their journey. Then the cloud settled down in the wilderness of Paran. This is where we were at. Now he's saying these are the words. There's a bunch of time that has gone by. 38 years has gone by. More than 38 years, really. Has gone by. Almost 38 years, 11 months has gone by since we left Sinai. He's talking about the words these are the words which Jehovah spoke to us and Israel on this side of the Jordan in the wilderness, opposite in the plain opposite Suph. I think we're talking about Horeb. Between Paran and Tophel and Lavan and Hazeroth and Di-zahav. I tried to look at these things to find out where they were. I put these appear to be places on this side of the Jordan, not the place opposite Jericho, but rather the places we have been since we crossed over the Red Sea 40 years before and entered into Jehovah's rulership. These seem to be the places where Moses received words of Jehovah and gave them to Jehovah's seed, Israel. This is also an overview statement. So Suph was Yom Soph, the Red Sea. So the plain opposite the Suph is Sinai. That's what it would appear to be. Paran, this is the first place we went after we left Sinai. Horeb. Tophel, territory on the west side of the Edomish rivers. This would be the last place we went before we began our conquest. Kadesh Berea. Lavan, probably identical with Libnah. I don't know where Libnah was at. Hazeroth, this is the place where Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses. Remember, Miriam got the leprosy. And Di-zahav is a place in the desert of Sinai. All right. Now, look what it says. It is 11 days' journey from Horeb by way of Mount Seir to Kadesh Barnea. It's an 11-day journey. When we left Horeb, remember we left in the second month, we just read it, of the second year that we came out of Egypt. So we were at Horeb for basically a year. No, we weren't even there that long. We were there for about 11 months. Took us 3 months to get to Horeb. We left, and it should have been an 11-day journey from Horeb by way of Mount Seir to Kadesh Barnea. Only took us 38 years because we were rebellious lots. Yeah, we did get there, but we never went beyond there, did we? Now it came to pass in the 40th year, in the 11th month, on the first day of the month, that Moses spoke to Israel's seed according to all that Yehovah had given him as commandments to them. Where are we at? This is now 40th year, 11th month. You know, I was thinking about this morning. When is it that Moses dies? We are going into the promised land sometime after the first day of the first month. We're going to cross the river. We're going to circumcise our men on the 10th day of the first month. And we're going to have Passover on the 14th day of the first month. Here Moses is talking to us on the first day of the 11th month. That means we have all of the 11th month, all of the 12th month, and then the first month, assuming we have a 12-month year, which I think we can do that. I've seen no evidence that there was a 13-month year. But here's my point. When is Moses going to die? It appears to me that at most, Deuteronomy takes place in a 1-month period. I say that because we are going to mourn for Moses for a whole 30 days. So if this is the 11th day, the first day of the 11th month, and we're going to mourn for Moses 30 days, a whole month, that means there's only 1 month left, the 11th month, that Moses can be speaking to us in Deuteronomy. Let me show you a couple things. This is Deuteronomy 34, 5, and 8. So Moses, Yehovah's servant, died there in the land of Moab, according to the word of Yehovah. And he buried him in the valley in Moab's land, opposite Beth Peor. But no one knows his grave to this day. Moses was 120 years old when he died. 120 years old. I want to know what day he died. I can't find it. If you can find it, let me know. His eyes were not dim, nor his natural vigor diminished. And Israel's seed wept for Moses in the plains of Moab 30 days. So the days of weeping and mourning for Moses ended. This is the last chapter of Deuteronomy. Here is chapter 31. Then Moses went and spoke these words to Israel. And he said to them, I am 120 years old today. 120 years old today. It just said Moses was 120 years old when he died. Is this the same day that he died? I guess you get to be 120 years old for a whole year, but again, there's only 1 month that he can be going on between the first day of the 11th month and still mourn for him for 30 days. It only leaves us 1 month, the 11th month. probably February. Then Moses went and spoke these words to Israel, and he said to them, I am 120 years old today. I can no longer go out and come in. Well, look at that. He can no longer come out and go in, but here it says, his eyes were not dim, nor his natural vigor diminished. Well, what is it? Is there a discrepancy there? Also, Jehovah has said to me, you shall not cross over the Jordan. Well, we knew that. Here's 32. So there's 31, 32. This one was 34. Here's 32. Then Jehovah spoke to Moses that very same day. What very same day? Is that the day that he is 120 years old today? Go up to this mountain. Go up this mountain of the Avarim, Mount Nebo, which is in the land of Moab across from Jericho. View the land of Canaan and give it, which I give to Israel's seed as a possession, and die on the mountain. Did he die on his birthday? It sounds like he might have. This very same day. You know, it makes me wonder if the whole of Deuteronomy was written in one day. Is that possible? It makes me wonder, if it were, that this 120-year-old man may have got some things wrong, may have forgotten some of the things that Jehovah had given him to give to Israel's seed. Is that possible? Ooh. How do we explain these things that do not agree with the rest of Torah? Are we to judge which is right and pick the one that we like best? Or do we want to agree with the stuff that agrees with everything else in Torah? Guess that's kind of where I'm at. If I see it in Numbers, if I see it in Exodus, if I see it in Leviticus, but it's messed up in Deuteronomy, I default to the other three. I guess that's something everybody's going to have to make a decision about. Now it came to pass in the 40th year, in the 11th month, on the first day of the month, that Moses spoke to Israel's seed, that's who he always speaks to, according to all that Jehovah had given him as commandments for them. It almost sounds like Jehovah speaking to him again. That's what it looks like. This is after he killed Sihon, king of the Amorites. Notice it says he killed. Didn't say it in Torah that he killed Sihon, who dwelt in Heshbon, and king of Bashan. Yashar basically said that Moses was the one who smote Og, king of Bashan, who dwelt at Ashtaroth in Edrei. On this side of the Jordan, in the land of Moab, Moses began to explain this law, saying, here Moses is going to give us a history at this point. Jehovah our Elohim spoke to us in Horeb, saying, you have dwelt long enough in this mountain. Turn and take your journey to the mountains of the Amorites, to all the neighboring places in the plain, in the mountains of the lowlands, in the mountains and in the lowlands, in the south and on the seacoast, to the land of the Canaanites, and to Lebanon, as far as the great river Euphrates. Wow. We were supposed to take the land all the way to the Euphrates. Euphrates was a lot more than the mouth of Hamath we saw a couple weeks ago. Do you remember Hamath? The valley of Hamath, the mouth of Hamath, they call it. He says, see, I have set the land before you. Go in and possess the land which Jehovah swore to your fathers, not your mothers, not to Sarai and Rebekah and Rachel and Leah, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give them and their seed, their descendants after them. What word are we talking about? Zara. Here it is right here. And to them and to their seed. This says to them. There's the them. And to, there it is, to their seed. Their seed. The mem at the end says their seed. To them and to their seed. After that, we're talking to men. Men are going to inherit the land. I spoke to you at that time saying, I alone am not able to bear you. Yahovah, your Elohim, has multiplied you. And here you are today as the stars of heaven in multitude. That's interesting. Stars of heaven in multitude. How much is the stars of heaven in multitude? We just numbered ourselves just recently. Remember when we got to the plain of Moab, we numbered ourselves about 600,000 again. But you know, it was interesting. Yasher said it was 700,000. So I don't know if it was 600,000 or 700,000. But regardless, how much is the stars of heaven in multitude? It must be 600,000 to 700,000. Interesting. We thought it was a lot more than that. But, you know, if there's more, it would still be the same number, wouldn't it? May Yahovah Elohim of your fathers make you 1,000 times more numerous than you are. Okay, so we got 600,000, and we're going to be 1,000 times more numerous. That would make us 600 million to 700 million. And bless you as he has promised you. Oh, I want to see our kingdom grow like that. How can I alone bear your problems and your burdens and your complaints? Choose wise men, understanding and knowledgeable men from among your tribes, and I will make them heads over you. He says, choose wise men. Again, who are we choosing? Enoshim. They use this word, enosh. This is the wrong word. This is enoshim. This is the plural form of ish, enoshim. Men. Knowledgeable men. Choose wise, understanding, and knowledgeable men from among your tribes, and I will make them roshim, heads over you. This is the wisdom that Reuel, Moses' father-in-law, gave to him. This was like Exodus 18, yeah. And Moses said to his father-in-law, because the people come to me to inquire of Elohim when they have difficulty, they come to me. And I judge between one and another. And I make known the statutes of Elohim and his law. So Moses' father-in-law said to him, the thing that you do is not good. Both you and these people who are with you will surely wear yourselves out. For this thing is too much for you. You are not able to perform it by yourself. Listen now to my voice. I will give you counsel, and Elohim will be with you. Stand before Elohim for the people, so that you may bring the difficulties to God, Elohim. And you shall teach them the statutes and the laws, and show them the way in which they must walk, and work they must do. Moreover, you shall select from all the people able men. All the people. We're talking about men people. We're always talking about men people. Learn to understand differently. We want to make it lady people all the time. He's not doing that. Moreover, you shall select from all the people able men, such as fear Elohim, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place such over them to be rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50, rulers of 10. He's going back in time, and he's telling us the story. This is what he's relating it to right now. And you answered me and said, the thing which you have told us to do is good. So I took the heads of your tribes, wise, knowledgeable men, and made them heads over you, leaders of thousands, leaders of hundreds, leaders of 50, leaders of tens, and officers for your tribes. Then I commanded your judges at that time, saying, hear the cases between your brethren. Here call them judges, these rulers, judges. Hear the cases between your brethren and judge righteously between a man and his brother. Oh, look at this. Judge righteously between a man and his brother. Man and his brother. This is an Ezra man and an Ezra man. He says, and a stranger who is with him. So we're going to have our complaints brought between brother and brother, or brother and a ger who dwells with us. Who is with him? The ger who's with him seems to have additional freedoms that his servants would not have, that his women would not have, that his children would not have. That they could have a man, a separate man, judge between brother and brother, one house and another house, and brother and a ger. What I put here? Then I commanded your judges at that time. Here's the word they use for judges, shaphat. Your judges. This is plural form, and it's your judges, all of your judges. Saying, here are the cases between your brethren, akim, aki, plural again, thy brethren, your brethren, and judge. Here they're using the same word, once as a noun and once as a verb. And judge righteously between a man, an ish, and his brother, and an ish and his ger. Two of Israel's sons, Ezra, or an Ezra and a ger. Yet we see that there are only two kinds of men in Jehovah's kingdom, the Ezra and the ger who dwell with him. Do the judges judge between a man and his woman? Ridiculous. How about a man and a woman? Doesn't appear to be so, does it? You know, we assume a lot of things because we are looking at the doctrines and traditions of men that we've all learned. And we're not seeing the big picture of line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. We're not understanding the role of a man and the role of a woman, the role of a man and the role of a servant, the role of a man of Israel and the ger who dwells with him. They're different. We've got to learn the differences. 17. You shall not show partiality in judgment. You shall hear the small as well as the great. You shall not be afraid in any man's presence, for the judgment is Elohim's. The case that is too hard for you, bring to me, and I will hear it. Again, this is all a a reminding of what has happened in the past. You shall not respect faces. That's what it's saying. Man's presence, the case. Show partiality in judgment. Nor hear the small. You shall not be afraid of any man's presence, any man's faces. You shall not respect faces. Isha's faces. Isha's face. Isha's face. Jehovah's servants will have the same wisdom that Moses had. Yeah, this is what Jehovah has given us in Isaiah 11. His delight shall be in the fear of Jehovah. He shall not judge by the sight of his eyes, nor decide by the hearing of his ears. It's all going to happen again. But with righteousness he shall judge the poor, and decide with equity the meek of the earth. He shall strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he shall slay the wicked. He goes on. And I commanded you at that time all the things which you should do. So we departed from Horeb. Finally, we're leaving Horeb. I forget, it was in the second month. I forget what day of the second month of the second year. So we departed Horeb and went through all the great and terrible wilderness, which you saw on the way to the mountains of the Amorites, as Jehovah our Elohim had commanded us. Then we came to Kadesh Berea. Remember, we were talking about Kadesh in Galilee. This is Kadesh Berea. One's at the north, one's in the south. This is in the south. This is where we sent our spies out from. And I said to you, you have come to the mountains of the Amorites, which Jehovah our Elohim is giving us. Look, Jehovah your Elohim has set the land before you. Go up and possess it, as Jehovah thy father's Elohim has spoken to you. Do not fear or be discouraged. Every one of you came near to me and said, let us send men before us. Is that what happened? Look at what it says in Numbers. And Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, send men out. Send men to spy out the land of Canaan, which I am giving to Israel's seed, from each tribe of their fathers. You shall send a man, every one a leader among them. So Moses sent from the wilderness of Paran, according to the command of Jehovah, all the men who were heads of Israel's seed. Here it says, and every one of you came to me and said, let us send men before us, and let them search out the land for us, and bring back word of the way by which we should go up, and of the cities into which we shall come. Well, there's a difference there, isn't there? The plan pleased me well. So I took 12 of your men, one man from each tribe. And they departed and went up into the mountains and came to the valley of Eshcol and spied it out. The valley of Eshcol, I don't know where the valley of Eshcol is. This says Eshcol means cluster. Eshcol was also a brother of Mamre and Anar, the Amorites, allies of Abraham, who took part with him in the pursuit and defeat of Chedorlaomer's forces. Maybe Chedorlaomer was the main guy, and Nimrod was with him, but he had a different name. I forget what it was. I don't want to take the time to look for it right now. Should have, sorry. I'll put it in the notes. This was a valley or brook, so called in the south of Judah, and perhaps took its name from the cluster of grapes there abounding. It seemed to me this word also meant cluster. Yeah, it means cluster. The name Eshcol indeed means a bunch of grapes. It was in this place that the spies sent by Moses to search the land cut down one bunch, which required 2 men to carry it. You know, I wondered if Eshcol, the valley of Eshcol, was named after Eshcol, this man that we were talking about, who was one of the brothers, or the brother of Mamre and Anar. May have been. They also took some of the fruit of the land in their hand and brought it down to us. And they brought back word to us, saying, it is a good land which Jehovah our Elohim is giving us. Nevertheless, you would not go up, but rebelled against the command of Jehovah your Elohim. And you complained in your tents. Oh, who are they complaining to? All the men, the rulers of their families, were sowing discord into their own families. And he wondered why Jehovah had to destroy them. And you complained in your tents, and said, because Jehovah hates us, he has brought us out of this land of Egypt to deliver us into the hands of the Amorites to destroy us. You know, how could we even think that? I don't know. After seeing all that Yehovah had done for us, where can we go up? Our brethren have discouraged our hearts, saying, the people are greater and taller than we. The cities are great and fortified up to heaven. Moreover, we have seen Anakim's seed there. Let's see if that says that. The giants, there's giants in the land. Yeah, they saw Anakim's seed there. Remember, Anakim is the giants. But we have giants in our land, don't we? Do we fear those giants? We do. Most of us do. They're the giants called the Justice Department and the NSA and the CIA and all the three-letter boys. The Army, the Navy, the Air Force. It's some powerful stuff. Reminds me of Abraham and his sons when they went to defend themselves against the 7 cities of the Canaanites and the Amorites. All the things that they did. We'll talk about that later. Then I said to you, do not be terrified or afraid of them. This is Moses. Do not be terrified or afraid of them. Isaiah said the same thing, speaking through Yehovah, or Yehovah speaking through him. Do not say a conspiracy concerning all that the people call a conspiracy, nor be afraid of their threats, nor be troubled. Don't fear the giants of the land. Yehovah of hosts, him you shall hallow. Let him be your fear. Let him be your dread. Yes, learn to make Yehovah your dread. Follow him. Do the things that he asks of us. And he will keep us safe. He will fight for you. What does it say? He will fight for you, according to all he did for you in Egypt, before your eyes, and in the wilderness where you saw how Yehovah, your Elohim, carried you as a man carries his son. Did you hear that? Yehovah carried Israel, his Ezra men, as a man carries his son. What did he say to Pharaoh? Let my son, my Bakor, go that he may serve me. Israel is Yehovah's son. Israel is his Ezra men. He came out. He numbered Israel. 600,000 of us came out. Those were the men 20 years old and above. Ezra men. And the mixed multitude that came out with us, the mixed heads of families really is what it says. They came out with us. They were the Ger. Yet for all that, you did not believe Yehovah, your Elohim, who went in the way before you to search out a place for you to pitch your tents. Remember, we followed him. Pillar of fire, pillar of smoke. Wherever it went, we went. Wherever it stopped, we stopped. He's telling us where to pitch our tents, to show you the way you should go in the fire by night and in the cloud by day. And Yehovah heard the sound of your words. While he heard the sound of our words, we're complaining. He brought us out to destroy us, and was angry, and took an oath, saying, surely not one of these men of this evil generation shall see that good land of which I swore to give to your fathers. Plural ish. These men, these Enoshim. They used the right word that time. Look, ish, same word. But now they got the correct Strong's word on it. I don't know why that happens. Except Caleb. So everyone was going to die, except Caleb, the son of Jephunneh. He shall see it. And to him and his seed I am giving the land on which he walked, because he wholly followed Yehovah. Look at that. He's giving him the land on which he walked. Caleb was one of the 10 spies. He walked in the land among the giants. Ooh, that's pretty neat. It says, and to his sons. It doesn't say seed. I call it seed. This happens to be his sons. His sons. Gotta love the rewards for holy following Yehovah. What does it say? I'm giving him the land in which he walked because he wholly followed Yehovah. Oh, wholly following Yehovah. That's what it's all about. And Yehovah was also angry with me for your sake, saying, even you shall not go in there. And Joshua, the son of Nun. So Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, Joshua, the son of Nun, who stands before you, he shall go in there. Encourage him, for he shall cause Israel to inherit the land. Moreover, your little ones, you're tough. There it is. You're tough. Here's tough. And you're tough. Your little ones. Might say family. I think it's tough. And your sons. Not seed, sons. And your sons. Who you say will be victims. Who today have no knowledge of good and evil. They will go in there. To them I will give it, and they shall possess it. But as for you, turn and take your journey into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea. Remember, he told us to go back. We didn't go back. We want to go forward. Okay, we'll do it. We'll fight. But then he wasn't with us, was he? Then you answered and said, we have sinned against Yehovah. We will go and fight, just as Yehovah our Elohim commanded us. And when every one of you had girded on his weapons of war, you were ready to go into the mountains. And Yehovah said, tell them, do not go up nor fight, for I am not among you, lest you be defeated before your enemies. That's what happened. They killed us. So I spoke to you, yet you would not listen, but rebelled against the command of Yehovah, and presumptuously went up into the mountain. Yes, they killed us. And the Amorites who dwelt in the mountain came out against you, and chased you as beasts do, and drove you back to Seir, to Hormah. And drove you back, right here. And drove you back from Seir to Hormah. Why does it say Seir? We didn't go to Seir. We weren't going to fight Seir. What is that all about? Seir, we would have been going north, not east. We never fought Seir. Again, problems. Drove us back to Hormah. That makes perfect sense. Then you returned and wept before. You know what? Maybe that's why we were so afraid when, after 40 years, we saw the king of Arad coming up against us. I want to show you something. Here's a map. We were down here. I should make it a little bit bigger. Let's go to 75. Here's Kadesh Berea. We went up into these mountains, is where we were supposed to go. This is, where is Hebron? Here's Hebron. We got driven back to Hormah. Here's Hormah, or that area. Hormah is kind of a general location rather than a city. Drove us back down to Hormah. That's what happened. Here's Seir way over here. This is Seir. No, we didn't go to Seir. No, Yehovah never told us to fight Seir. In fact, he told us not to fight with Esau's seed. So that doesn't make sense. We went up here when we were supposed to be heading south towards Ezen-Geber and the Sea of Aqaba, the Red Sea. But we didn't. We rebelled and we decided we were going to go north. Yehovah said, don't go. I'm not with you. Got driven back like bees, chasing us to Hormah. Finally, we left. Took our lick and Kept going. Then you returned and wept before Yehovah. But Yehovah would not listen to your voice nor give ear to you. Hear that? No, you lost your chance. Yehovah said that we were going to turn around. And I wrote an article. This is it here. Does Yehovah hear your prayer? He doesn't hear the prayer of the wicked. Here he's not hearing the prayer of these men who rebelled against him. They're praying against his will. He said, you're going to die. We said we want to live. Too late. You made your choice. Then you returned and wept before Yehovah, but Yehovah would not listen to your voice nor give ear to you. So you remained in Kadesh many days, according to the days that you spent there. We're going to try and get through 2 more chapters if we can. Then we turned and journeyed into the wilderness of the way of the Red Sea, going back towards the Red Sea, as Yehovah spoke to me, and we skirted Mount Seir for many days. And Yehovah spoke to me, saying, you have skirted this mountain long enough. Turn northward. And commanded the people, saying, you are about to pass through the territory of your brethren, the descendants of Esau, who live in Seir, and they will be afraid of you. Therefore, watch yourselves carefully. Do not meddle with them, for I will not give you any of their land. No, not so much as a footstep, because I have given Mount Seir to Esau as a possession. Okay, so we didn't fight with Esau. We have fought with Esau in the past, but this was many years after this, after we were in Israel. Here, Yehovah said, Deuteronomy 11, every place in which the sole of your foot treads, you shall be yours. From the wilderness of Lebanon, from the river Euphrates, even to the western sea, shall be your territory. So here it says, not so much as a footstep. I'm not going to give you any of their land. This is why he's saying things like this. You shall buy food from them with money that you may eat, and you shall buy water from them with money that you may drink. For Yehovah, your Elohim, has blessed you in all the work of your hands. He knows you're trudging through this great wilderness, these 40 years. Yehovah, your Elohim, has been with you. You have lacked nothing. It makes me think that when Yehovah brings us back out of Egypt, are we going to lack for anything the second time? I don't think we will. And when we passed beyond our brethren, the descendants, the seed of Esau, who dwell in Seir, away from the road of the plain, away from Elath and Ezen-Geber. We turned and passed by way of the wilderness of Moab. Here, he's talking about Elath and Ezen-Geber. We just looked at it when we were looking at the Red Sea. Here it is right here. Just so you know where it's at. Down at the bottom, right at the top of this. Elath and Ezen-Geber. They're at the top of the Dead Sea. They put Ezen-Geber here. It's actually more here. I put that on the map. Paran looks like it's in that area as well. Okay. We turned and passed by the way of the wilderness of Moab. Then Yehovah said to me, do not harass Moab, nor contend with them in battle, for I will not give you any of their land as a possession, because I have given Ar to the descendants of Lot as a possession. The Amim had dwelt there in times past, a people as great and numerous and tall as the Anakim. The Amim and the Anakim, they are also regarded as giants, like the Anakim, but the Moabites called them Amim. And the Horites formerly dwelt in Seir, but the descendants of Esau dispossessed them and destroyed them from before them and dwelt in their place, just as Israel did in the land of their possession, which Yehovah gave to them. Do you remember the circumstances behind, remember, Seir, the Horites, and Esau were allies, living together. His son and the daughter of Seir the Horite married. There was a peace between them. And at one point, they went to fight against us in Egypt. Yasher is the one that fills us in on all of this, but this is exactly the same story that Moses is relating to here. They were devastated by us. Most of Horite's, Seir's fighting men were killed, his most valuable men. And many of Esau's men were killed as well. And Esau at that point took it upon himself, because Seir was saying, you got to leave. We can't have you in here anymore. We're not strong enough. And we took the land from Seir, killed Seir, his seed, and took his women and all of their houses and everything else. They became ours. Or not ours, it became Esau's. That was the circumstances. The Horites formerly dwelt in Seir, but the descendants of Esau dispossessed them and destroyed them from before them, and dwelt in their place, just as Israel did in the land of their possession, which Jehovah gave them. Now rise and cross over the valley of Zerad. The valley of Zerad. So he crossed over the valley of Zerad. I want to show you the valley of Zerad. It took me a moment or a bit to find this. Here's the Zerad Brook. We came up this side as we're beginning to enter now into the promised land. This is at the end of 40 years. We came on this side through Di-zahav and up here to the valley of Zerad. And then to Ar, which really is on the river, with Aroer. One's on the bottom of the river, one's at the top of the river. And came into this land, Kedemoth. We fought at Yahaz. We fought with Sihon, king of the Amorites. Okay, let's go back to Torah. And the time we took to come from Kadesh Barnea until we crossed the valley of Zerad was 38 years, until all the generation of the men of war was consumed from the midst of the camp, just as Jehovah had sworn to us. Oh, I think this is funny. You know, this is something that should have taken a matter of days. It took us 38 years because we had to wait for all those men to be consumed from the camp, just as Jehovah had sworn. They're not going to enter it. Their sons are going to enter it. For indeed, the hand of Jehovah was against them to destroy them from the midst of the camp until they were consumed. So it was when all the men of war, this is the fighting men, this is again Ish. They're just doing it a little bit differently because this is the same construction as Bnei Israel with the possessive, the fighting men, had finally perished from among the people. That Yehovah spoke to me, saying, this day you shall cross over the Ar, the boundary of Moab. So here we are, getting ready to cross over the Ar. And when you come near the people of Ammon, do not harass them or meddle with them. For I will not give you any of the land of the people of Ammon as a possession, because I have given it to the descendants of Lot as a possession. Well, this is what he was just saying about Moab. This was also regarded as the land of the giants. Giants formerly dwelt there, but the Ammonites called them Zamzummim, a people as great and numerous and tall as the Anakim. But Jehovah, destroyed them before them, and they dispossessed them and dwelt in their place. This is the Ammonites who dispossessed the Zemzumim and took their place, just as he had done for the descendants of Esau who dwelt in Seir when he destroyed the Horites from before them. They dispossessed them and dwelt in their place even to this day. Well, we see land switching places constantly in Torah, don't we? Remember, we're still calling this the plain of Moab that we're in right now, but it wasn't the plain of Moab for 4 years. The past 4 years has been the plain of Sion. Now it's the plain of Israel. Not the plain of Moab, but we're still calling it the plain of Moab. He says, rise, take your journey, and cross over the river Arnon. Look, I have given into your hand Sihon the Amorite, king of Heshbon, and his land. Begin to possess it and engage him in battle. He says, this day I will begin to put the dread and fear of you upon the nations under the whole heaven, who shall hear the report of you and shall tremble and be in anguish because of you. I sent messengers from the wilderness of Kedemoth to Sihon, king of Heshbon, with words of peace, saying, listen to this. Moses says he sent messengers from Kedemoth. Remember, Kedemoth is this place right here. Right here, after we crossed the Ararur, crossed the Arnon, we went through Ararur, and we into this wilderness of Kedemoth. It says he's sending messages to Sihon, king of Heshbon, with these words, let me pass through your land. I will keep strictly to the road, and I will turn neither to the right or to the left. You shall sell me food for money that I may eat, and give me water for money that I may drink. Only let me pass through on foot. Well, did he send messengers? Remember, I asked before, we saw it in Numbers that we sent messengers to Sihon. And I said, well, what did we ask him? What was it that we were asking him? This must be what we were asking him. Let us pass through your land. We were going to go take Canaan. But he didn't want to do it. Apparently, from what Yahovah already said just above here, it says, look, I have given into your hand Sihon, the Amorite, king of Heshbon, and his land. But now here we're saying, let us pass through your land. Was that part of diplomacy? Let us pass through your land and just seeing if they're going to pick a fight with us? Maybe exactly what was going on. But now look at this. He says, you shall sell me food for money that I may eat. Again, talking about Israel. Sell Israel food for money that we may eat. Water for money that we may drink. Only let us pass through on foot. Just as the descendants of Esau who dwelt in Seir. Esau did not let us pass through his land. The Moabites, we passed through the Moabites' land, and they didn't really have much to say about it. Remember, all of their mighty men of war had died 4 years before when they fought Sihon. So they really didn't have much to say about it. But we did not go through Esau's land. We went around Esau's land. But it says, just as the descendants of Esau who dwell in Seir, and the Moabites who dwell in Ar did for me. No, they didn't do that for us. The Moabites did, but not the Esau seed didn't do it until I crossed the Jordan to the land which Yahovah our Elohim is giving us. I put Esau's seed. They put descendants of Esau. How come when they write Israel's seed, B'nai Israel, they always put the children of Israel? Why, when it says B'nai Esau, do they write to the descendants of Esau? Is there any rhyme or reason about it? I don't get it. Here it says, but Sihon would not allow Israel to pass through his territory. So Sihon gathered all his people together and went out against Israel in the wilderness. And he came to Jahaz and fought against Israel. So that's where he fought. Again, they're saying that something happened that didn't happen, just as the descendants of Esau dwell in Seir. But Sihon, king of Heshbon, would not let us pass through. For Yehovah, your Elohim, hardened his spirit and made his heart obstinate, that he might deliver him into your hand as it is this day. Here's what it said in Yashar. And in the 36th year, remember this is when he's taking the land from Moab's seed. And in the 36th year of Israel's seed, departing from Egypt, Jehovah smote the heart of Sihon, king of the Amorites. And he waged war and went forth to fight against Moab's son. So here Jehovah's doing it again. Only this time, he's going to lose. And Sihon sent messengers to Beor, son of Jani, son of Balaam, counselor of the king of Egypt, and to Balaam his son, to curse Moab in order that he might be delivered into the hands of Sihon. All right. Well, my point was Jehovah hardened his heart both times to go to war. One he won, the next one he lost. And Jehovah said to me, see, I have begun to give Sihon and his land over to you. Begin to possess it, that you may inherit his land. Then Sihon and all his people came out against us to fight at Jahaz. And Jehovah, our Elohim, delivered him over to us. So we defeated him, his son, and his people. His son, this is his son, not plural sons, this is his son, it's clearly his son and all his people. Again, we're talking about men. We took all his cities at that time, and we utterly destroyed the men, women, and little ones of every city. We left none remaining. Men, this is a different word for men than we normally use, and it's used in the plural, so it means not man, but men. And then it has the nashim. Here's the nashim, ha-nashim. This is the ladies. And ha-taf. Taf is children. It's plural already. The taf, the little ones is how they translate it. Of every city, left none remaining. We took only the livestock as plunder for ourselves with the spoil of the cities which we took. From Aroer, which was on the bank of the Arnon River, the river Arnon, and from the city that is in the ravine, I think that's Ar, as far as Gilead. There was not one city too strong for us. The word here they translated as strong is actually high, too high for us. Sagav, lofty, inaccessible. We did not have siege weapons. We jumped. Yeah, I think we jumped. We'll jump again. Yashar is really cool. We don't see really this in Torah, but in Yashar we see that Israel's seed was able to run fast, jump high, lift very, very heavy things and throw them. Here, this is Sagav. It refers to physical size, indicating a great height. I wanted to read you this. This is Samuel. They call this the Psalm of David, maybe even the Song of David. For by you I ran against a troop. By my Elohim I can leap over a wall. As for Elohim, his way is perfect. The words of Yehovah is proven. He is a shield to those who trust in him. For who is Elohim except Yehovah? And who is a rock except our Elohim? Elohim is my strength and power. He makes my way perfect. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer and sets me on high places. He teaches my hand to make war so that my arms can bend a bronze bow. This is the Psalm of David. It's a beautiful psalm. I love the whole thing. And Simeon and Levi slew all the men who ran for safety into the city, and all the inhabitants of the city with their women and their little ones they slew at the edge of the sword, and the cries of the city descended up to heaven. And Naphtali, Dan and Naphtali sprang upon the wall. There they are, jumping to the walls. They were jumping huge distances, 40, 50, 60 feet high, to see what caused the noise of the lamentation. For Jacob's sons, the sons of Jacob, felt anxious about their brothers. I can't tell what that actually says without the Hebrew. And they heard the inhabitants of the city speaking and weeping in supplication and saying, let me just skip down here. They ascended the wall. Then when Judah and Simeon and Levi had ceased smiting the inhabitants of the city, they ascended the wall and called to Dan and Naphtali, who were upon the wall, and the rest of their brothers of Simeon and Levi, informed them of the interests of the city, and all of Jacob's seed came and fetched the spoil. Here it's talking about in Joel. They run like mighty men. They ascend the wall like men of war. Everyone marches in formation. They do not break ranks. They do not push one another. Everyone marches in his own column. Though they lunge between the weapons, they are not cut down. They run to and fro in the city. They run on the wall. They climb into the houses. They enter the windows like a thief. The earth quakes before them. The heavens tremble. The sun and the moon grow dark. The stars diminish in their brightness. Yehovah gives voice before his army, for his camp is very great. For strong is the one who executes his words, for the day of Yehovah is great and very terrible. Who can endure it? These men, when we took these cities, we had abilities. Spiritual men having abilities to do things that normal men can't do. We saw this in Egypt when we fought with other people as well. We'll see it again. Like I said, Joel 2 is talking about it right there. Too high for us. Yehovah our Elohim delivered us. Only you did not go near the land of Ammon's people, anywhere along the river Jabbok or the cities of the mountains, or wherever Yehovah our Elohim had forbidden us. This is, again, look at, they say the people of Ammon. This is Ammon's seed. Ammon's seed is what it says. B'nai Ammon. So one they've translated as the descendants of Esau. Here they're translating it as the people of Ammon. But both words are B'nai, the same word that we use for B'nai Israel. I hate this discretionary translation. It just makes it so much harder to understand what Yehovah is trying to say to us. We're talking about Ammon's seed. Don't touch the land that belongs to Ammon's seed. Here is where Ammon, he's talking about along the river Jabbok. Here it is. Here's the river Jabbok. Right here. Their border. This is their land, right in here. Here's Rabbah. Rabbah is their land. We're going to see it later on today. We took this land inside here, all the way up to here, Gilead, and then fought Og, king of Bashan, for all of Bashan, this area. Next chapter and last chapter. I really want to get through this today. Next week we're going to do 4. This is kind of an overview. I really want to go through all this at once. So we're going to try and get through it. Then we turned and went to the road of Bashan. And Og, king of Bashan, came out against us, he and all his people, to battle at Edrei. It did say his people, his The road we went up was the king's highway. Og, king of Bashan, the giant, Yehovah will fight for you. Actually, he had a son too. I really think they talked about Sihon, his son, but I think they had it backwards, because it appears to me from what we've read before that it was Og that had a son more powerful than he that we killed as well. They said Sihon and his son. I don't remember seeing that. I think it was Sihon and his people. I think they got it backwards. Again, it's Deuteronomy. Og, king of Bashan, the giant, Yehovah will fight for you. After he killed Sihon, king of the Amorites, who dwelt in Heshbon, and Og, king of Bashan, he dwelt in Ashtaroth, who dwelt in Ashtaroth in Edrei. Yeah, so that's where we're at right now. We just crossed over. Here's Ashtaroth, and here's Edrei. Looks like we fought in Edrei. And Jehovah said to me, do not fear him, for I have delivered him and all his people and his land into your hand. You shall do to him as you did to Sihon, king of the Amorites, who dwelt in Heshbon. So Yehovah, your Elohim, also delivered into your hands Og, king of Bashan, and all his people. And we attacked him until he had no survivors remaining. And we took all his cities at that time. There was not a city which we did not take. From them, 60 cities, all the region of the Argob, the kingdom of Og in Bashan. I don't know where the Argob is. It appears to be a large rocky outcrop. This Argob, look at what it says. Stony heap, an island, as it has been called, of rock, about 30 miles by 20 miles, rising 20 to 30 feet above the table of the land of Bashan. A region of crags and chasms, wild and rugged and extreme. On this island stood 60 walled cities. They were talking about 60 cities. All the region of Argob, the kingdom of Og, king of Bashan. I looked for it. Where is it? I mean, 60, they said 20 miles by 30 miles? Isn't that what they just said? 20 by 30? A rock about 30 miles by 20. Rising 20 to 30 feet above the rock table. Yeah, I don't know where it's at. I mean, could it be one of these spots? I don't know. I don't know where it's at. I'd love to know where it's at. It sounds like a pretty interesting place, a natural place for a defense against an enemy, huh? All these cities were fortified with high walls, gates, bars, besides a great many rural towns. What does it say in the New Testament? The gates of hell shall not prevail against us. You know, when you read that, the gates of hell shall not prevail against us. Do we think that gates attack? I think we do. But they don't realize that we're the ones that are attacking the gates of hell. They're not going to prevail against us, just as they didn't prevail against us this time. All these cities were fortified with high walls, gates, and bars, besides a great many rural towns. We didn't have siege weapons. We jumped. We took these cities for ourselves the same way as we took these 7 cities of the Amorites back in the early part of Yashar, right after the Shechem incident. And we utterly destroyed them, as we did Sihon, king of Heshbon, utterly destroying the men, women, and Toph of every city. This is the same words we just saw being used in the other time that we did that. Men, it's a different kind of word for men. But all the livestock and the spoil of the cities we took as booty for ourselves. And at that time we took the land from the hand of the 2 kings of the Amorites, who were on this side of the Jordan, from the Arnon to Mount Hermon. Yeah, that's exactly what we did. All the way to Mount Hermon. Here it is. Here's Mount Hermon. All the way up to here, probably up to this river. Didn't go as far as Damascus, but certainly up as far as here. We took all this land, all the way down, all the way down to here. Arnon River. There's the Arnon. Large portion of land. The Sidonians call Hermon Siran. The Amorites call it Senir. All the cities of the plains, all Gilead and Bashan, as far as Selkah and Edrei, cities of the kingdom of Og in Bashan. For only Og, king of Bashan, remained of the remnant of the giants. Indeed, his bedstead was an iron bedstead. Is it not in Rabbah? There's Rabbah. We were just talking about it. Is it not in Rabbah of the people of Ammon, 9 cubits in its length, 4 cubits in its width, according to the standard cubit? It's roughly 13.5 by 6 feet. He was a big guy. And this land, which we possessed at this time from Aroer, which is by the river Arnon, and half the mountains of Gilead and its cities, I gave to the Reubenites and the Gadites. The rest of Gilead and all of Bashan, the kingdom of Og, I gave to half the tribe of Manasseh. All the region of the Argob with all Bashan was called the land of the giants. Now he's going to say who he gave it to in Manasseh's seed. Jair ben Manasseh took all the region of the Argob, as far as the border of the Geshurites and the Macharites, and called Bashan after his own name, Hava Jar, to this day. I also gave Gilead to Machar. So remember, he said he gave half of Gilead. What did it say? The rest of Gilead and all of the kingdom of Bashan I gave to Manasseh. So we just talked about Jair getting the kingdom of Og portion, and the other brother, this is the eldest brother. So Manasseh's eldest son, elder brother of Jair. Also I gave to Gilead to Machar. And to the Reubenites and the Gadites I gave from Gilead as far as the Arnon River, that's where it started, the middle of the river, as far as the river Jabbok. So they went up to the river Jabbok. And the border of the people of Ammon. Yeah, so they had all that area that we were talking about. The plain also with the Jordan as the border from Kinneroth. So now we're talking about the plain also with the Jordan as the border of Kinneroth, as far as the east side of the Arabah, the Salt Sea, below the slopes of Pisgah. So he's saying this. He's talking about this portion here. Here's the Yarmuk. Here. Nope, Sea of Galilee. Yeah, Sea of Galilee is the... what did I do? I just messed up my thing. Sea of Galilee. That was the Chinneroth. Remember we talked about the Chinneroth. All the way down here to the Dead Sea. And really even beyond the Dead Sea to the Arnon River. But this is the plain that they're talking about. Okay, let's go back to Torah. And I gotta fix this. Oh man, I hate it when I do that. Maybe it'll be alright. Alright. Life goes on. Then I commanded you at that time, saying, Yahovah your Elohim has given you this land to possess. All you men of valor, here's the men of valor, men of power. There's the word they're looking for. This is the word they use, valor. It seems to be power. Israel's seed, b'nai, of power or might. And I commanded you, Gad, Reuben, and Manasseh, at that time, saying, Jehovah your Elohim has given you the land to possess it. You shall pass over armed before your brethren, Israel's seed. All b'nai, power b'nai. Let's take a look at that. It looks like they're using that word b'nai twice. Yeah, they are. B'nai, power. Mighty seed. Mighty seed. Powerful seed. I put son of power. It's more seed of power. Seed of power. Or powerful seed. Powerful seed. Going back. Here's long young's little child. I commanded you at that time, Jehovah, your Elohim has given you this land to possess it. Armed ye before your brethren, Israel's seed, all the sons of might, seed of might, all the mighty seed. Mighty seed, I think, is really more a way of saying it. Seed of might, maybe. Power. We're strong. We are strong men. They say men of valor, but we're talking about strong men. But you know what he says? He's still talking about Manasseh. Still talking about Manasseh here. Then he says, but your wives, your little ones, and your livestock, I know that you have much livestock, shall stay in your cities which I have given you. So they're going to stay, and the rest of us are going to cross over. But remember, it was Manasseh, Reuben, half the tribe of Manasseh, Reuben, and Gad, who was actually going to lead their brethren. Until Jehovah has given the rest, you shall stay in your cities, which I have given you. Until Jehovah has given rest to your brethren as to you, and they also possess the land which Jehovah your Elohim is giving them beyond the Jordan. Then each of you may return to his possession, which I have given you. So our women and children were going to stay in the land. Then I commanded Joshua at that time, saying, your eyes have seen all that Jehovah your Elohim has done for these two kings. So will Jehovah do to all the kingdoms through which you pass. Great. You must not fear them, for Jehovah your Elohim himself fights for you. Then I pleaded with Jehovah at that time, saying, O Adonai, Jehovah, all these are thy. O Jehovah, O Adonai, Jehovah, thou hast begun to show thy servant thy greatness and thy great hand. For what Elohim is there on heaven or earth who can do anything like thy works and thy mighty deeds? Thy mighty deeds. I pray, let me cross over and see the good land beyond the Jordan, those pleasant mountains of Lebanon. But Jehovah was angry with me on your account. Look at what he says. Jehovah was angry at me on your account. Was Jehovah angry at Moses for Israel's seed's account? No. Jehovah was angry with Moses because Moses hit the rock and he's supposed to speak to the rock. That's why he was angry at him and would not listen to me. So Jehovah said to me, enough of that. Speak no more to me of this matter. I've already decided you're going to die. I've already said you're going to die. Go up to the top of Pisgah. Lift your eyes toward the west, the north, the south, the east. Behold it with your eyes, for thou shalt not cross over this Jordan. Period. But command Joshua and encourage him and strengthen him, for he shall go over before his people, and he shall cause them to inherit the land which thou wilt see. So we stayed in the valley opposite Beth Peor, the valley opposite, I think that's the house of Peor. Bet, isn't that house? House. Peor's house. Valley up against Peor's house. Bet Peor. Peor's house. Was he a man? They were worshiping Baal Peor, Lord Peor. We weren't supposed to. We were supposed to worship Yehovah and serve only him, but we bowed our knees to him. We ate food slaughtered to him by his ways. Was he living at this time, this Peor guy? I don't think he would have been. We took the land. Was he a Moabite? I don't know. This doesn't really tell us much, does it? Well, I believe that was the end of it. Bet Peor. So we stayed in the valley opposite Bet Peor. That is the end. We got through Deuteronomy 1, 2, and 3 today. Next week, we're going to talk about chapter 4. Oh man, I love chapter 4. This is a beautiful place. Oh look, we're going to talk about Baal Peor again. All right. Well, hey, thank you for joining me today. We'll see you again next week. Peace to you. Bye now.